congrats to all of us. We Indians have finally succeeded. Over 90% of people have passed the ISC exams with flying colours in 2021. School averages are through the roofs, 90% in some cases. That should be incredible. We have a new cohort of Einsteins and Newtons on our hands. We should be overjoyed. Yet, are we? Does anyone really think that India has finally achieved the gold standard of education? Is our education system really that competent yet? Good afternoon to everyone listening. This is Arin Mukhopadhyay from class 12B on Bosconian Park Circus. And I would like to discuss about education and how education in India brings about mediocrity. Schools in most parts of India focus on marks, and why wouldn't they? The system itself demands it. Question papers are framed in a way where the questions themselves are given importance, not the topics. In most schools, teaching is done in a way where learning isn't prioritized. What's taught is how to regurgitate the topics. We live in a society where good marks, if you can call it that, are prioritized. There needs to be a loser for someone to be a winner, and that's important. We have a system where everyone who gets above a certain mark is taught that they are the ones, they are the future. Everyone else is expendable, really. We have a system where, from a very young age, we're taught that only science and commerce matters. Liberal arts, or they have no value. Culture, art, music, paintings, they're worthless. And the system really reinforces it. India only spends 3.5% of its GDP on education. And the recommended amount? 6%. That's akin to building a house at half the cost with substandard materials and shady practices. And that sets us up for failure. Most students never think outside the box. They see what's given in the book, they solve a few questions, and that's it. And the exams, well, they're the same standard. Exam standards have been diluted multiple times in the past 10-15 years. A 90% was what? Something in the 1990s. In 2021, a 90% marks failure. A 90% is all but guaranteed. Why do we live in a society like this? A 90% is a grade A. And if a grade A isn't valued enough, then what is? We live in a world where anything less than 100 is not enough. People who receive 94, 95, 96, they are taught that their marks aren't good enough. They fail and flounder during university application processes. And it's a phenomenon that's been going on for quite some time. If we take a closer look at a few recent examinations, we can see it even clearer. The pass percentages have been skyrocketing, so have marks. And the two main culprits are marks moderation and marks inflation. In India, we have 33 different educational boards, and there's no parity. So each board must compete with each other to ensure that their students have a shot at getting into university. Syllabuses aren't the same, marking systems aren't the same, and who suffers? The students. This really ruins the educational credibility. Certificates have no value, marks have no value. What does it value then? Nothing really. Students must fight it out in a battle royale-like format in competitive exams, where they are set for failure. They are given wrong signals as to their educational attainments. If everybody receives a 90, how does a person know that they don't know enough? There is no mechanism to teach them that maybe it's okay if we fail. It's what we do after that matters. We need to realize that failure is just a stepping stone to success, and failing at a small hurdle isn't a big deal. What matters is there's a framework to help those people who fail, to help them succeed. But do we have that? No, we don't. We have a system which prioritizes science and commerce to such an extent that everybody who takes a liberal arts humanities is derided, outright mocked. Why must it be so? Is literature this shameful? Speaking of literature, and the quality of literature has been declining for years now. We've gone from Shakespeare and Wordsworth to Abu Ben Adhem. It's at such a juncture that no one knows what to do anymore. Some educators definitely try, and yes, they do. I myself am privileged to have been taught by some of the best teachers I've ever known. But is everyone really as lucky? Can we really say that every student in India receives the same quality of education? Of course not. Only the few privileged enough to be able to afford it are afforded that opportunity. And that's apartheid, educational apartheid. And it's been made worse by COVID. We now have a digital divide. The people who can afford to have their own net connections, their own laptops, their own PCs, they receive an education that's far better than the ones who can't afford that. People who live in tier 2 cities, people who live in towns, people who live in villages, they are suffering. It's been going on for decades now. A lot of surveys have been done which shows that many people, not many, most people outside cities, they can't read well, but they are educated. What does it mean? Is education just the ability to regurgitate the contents of your book? Or is it maybe a bit more? Is it just the ability to be an android or the ability to have free thinking and critical thinking? I believe it's the latter, but sadly, we have a systemic issue. India's obsession with the idea of good marks is a tale as old as time itself. Good marks in the Indian education system have had an amorous relationship of such standards that obsession has led to abuse. And who suffers the abuse? Well, the students. India has some of the highest rates of student depression. Nearly 50% of all teenagers suffer from mental health issues. There are courses. No, I'm not a therapist or psychologist. Books and books and books and books. If a child commits suicide, and there's a hue and cry, but what about the issues surrounding suicide? No one treats them. There is barely any support from the system. Yes, individuals do help out, and that's a fact. But sadly, it's not enough to cover everyone, and that's where the flaw lies. We may have a cohort of Newtons and Einsteins in our hands, but we destroy them. We force them down one singular path. We destroy their innovativeness, we destroy their creativity. We tell them their free thinking isn't worth it, that the only way to go is a moral answer. That's how we treat our geniuses. And what of our Van Goghs or Beethovens or Picassos? We tell them their talents aren't worth anything, their art is valueless. We kill their passions, we kill their souls. We tell them all they're worth for is a 9-to-5 job. And that's the problem. Generations have suffered. I think it's time we stop and student support and we're waiting.